Hi, this is Josh Kulp. This is the video for Daf Yud Zayin of Masechet Avodah Zarah. We are learning with Daf Shevui. And there's a story that comes up towards the end of this daf about Rabbi Elazar ben Parta. And towards the middle of the story, somebody asks Rabbi Elazar ben Parta, "My tamalo atit leve avidan." Why didn't you come to the Beit Avidan? We'll talk about that term in a minute. And he responds, "I am old, and I was afraid that they would trample me with their feet." Now, what is this Beit Avidan? There are many discussions, Rashi, from the time of Rashi and onward, traditional commentators trying to figure out what this means. And recently a friend of mine, Shai Secunda, who's a professor at Bard College, wrote an article, you can find it on academia.edu, about the term Beit Avidan. It's a very interesting article, and I thought I would share some of the findings with you. The term appears in two other contexts. It appears in a context about saving scrolls found from that were in a fire on Shabbat, whether you can save the scrolls that were in Beit Avidan. And there's another discussion elsewhere about a person who does not go to Beit Avidan. And again, like our case, he makes up an excuse for why he doesn't go to the Beit Avidan. So these are Secunda's, Professor Sai Secunda's, some of his conclusions about what the term and what the stories really are. And it's interesting because it gives us a little bit of an insight into Persian reality of the time. So first of all, he says the term Beit Avidan is an Iranian term, a Persian term, for a kind of temple in late antiquity, so in the 4th, 5th, 6th centuries. There were stories that circulated in rabbinic circles about rabbis trying to attempt to avoid some official pressure from Persian authorities to go there. So there must have been some kind of pressure from the Persians for rabbis, official leaders of the Jewish community, to go and attend the Beit Avidan. There's another term that appears in juxtaposition in Shabbat called the Beit Nitzrafeh, and no one really knows exactly what Beit Nitzrafeh is either, but the Beit Avidan seems to have done a little bit better in rabbinic eyes, and it was deemed to be less heretical. There are some stories or some hints that the rabbis justified attendance at the Beit Avidan. There's hints at violence there in both our story and in other stories as well. And there's also, interestingly, the assumption of the presence of Jewish scrolls at the Beit Avidan. Taken all together, Shai Secunda suggests that we should accept the identification offered by medieval authorities that the Beit Avidan was a place of Persian or Iranian interreligious disputations, meaning Iranian authorities believed that there was a need for leaders of different religious communities within their empire to come and to engage in interreligious dialogue and disputations. This wasn't because of some kind of flowery notion probably today of the importance of one religion learning from the other, but all probably had some kind of a polemic element to it, including the idea of flow of religious ideas from one religion to another. There are echoes of such an institution in Iranian sources, which Professor Secunda goes through in his book, The Iranian Talmud, but I will spare you going through all that. So I thought that was a little bit of an interesting realia. One last point, in our sugya, it's projected back into ancient Palestine, but that is very typical of Babylonian Aggadot to take reality from later period and project it into an earlier period. There is very little doubt, I think, among scholars that Beit Avidan is not a Palestinian term, but is actually a Babylonian or Persian term.